It's a very strange evening for me tonight. I'm looking at the clock, and I'm deliberately looking at the clock because I'm watching the minutes tick away. On the 29th of November 2014, my two sons, Jacques and Torin, came to Manchester to watch a football match. Saw Manchester United play Hull. Jacques was 20 and Torin was 19. Jack was working in London and Torin was at Aberystwyth University, and they were very close, my two sons, and ever since they were young they'd shared everything together. They were more like twins, I think, than 15 months between them. Everything they did together. So they decided that they would come and meet up for that Christmas, because Jacques was going to be working in London and it would be the first time that the boys hadn't been together, or the family hadn't been together for Christmas. So they agreed to come to Manchester, and they went to the football match, and that evening they were staying at a pub, the Grapes in Stoneclough, Bolton, and the idea was they were going to stay overnight. And just about this time they came back from the football match and went into the Grapes, had a couple of drinks, and then went upstairs to their room. Torin came down to ask for the password so that they could watch something on his laptop, and that was the last anybody saw of them alive. They were both found 2 days later, the 1st of December, dead in the room that they were sharing. They died of an overdose of MDMA, ecstasy, which Torin apparently had bought on the dark web. When something like this happens as a family, you find it very hard, obviously, to take it in and wonder what on earth happened. And the first thing you ask is, what did we do wrong as a family? What did we do? Could we have done anything else? And I think we quickly came to the agreement, my wife and myself, that there actually wasn't anything we could have done. The first time we knew that Torin was taking drugs was when the policeman arrived at the door and actually said they found him dead. So we didn't know anything. There wasn't anything we could have done. And this is because drugs, as we've heard, are ubiquitous. It's part of culture. We see it in films. We hear it in music. It's in lots of stories. It's all around them. It's around us. But we don't take it in until it actually impacts on us. How ubiquitous it is, how widespread it is. And it came to me a little bit later when we had the inquest, about five months later. And that was held in Bolton, and I went to the inquest. And one of the things that came out at the inquest was that there was such a thing as a regulation dose of MDMA. And this was the first time I'd ever thought about it. And we have heard about the strength that you can have. My boys have bought this stuff. They didn't have a clue what it was. They bought it on the dark web and didn't know exactly what it was that they were taking. The other thing that came out very, very quickly, talking to friends who knew them, was one, that they were unlucky, that they'd taken, and were very unfortunate about what had happened. The other thing was that, their friends weren't going to stop taking drugs. What they wanted was to know that the drugs that they were taking were safe. And that was really an eye-opener to me. I'd never thought about it. I've never had any reason to. And that made me think about, safety. Why is it that everything else, every other aspect of our life, we have health and safety ruling over what we do? You can't do anything without health and safety checks, except drugs. Now, I live on the Isle of Man, and we have these things, TT races, which some of you might have heard of. In 2018, I was doing an interview on the Isle of Man while the TT races were on. And the day before I did this interview, one of the local Manx riders had died. He'd been killed in a crash on the mountain road. And when you enter the TT races, everybody knows it's dangerous. But you have to qualify Not anybody can go in for it. The bikes are scrutineered to make sure that they're safe. They don't go out in dangerous weather. They have to wear the appropriate equipment, helmets, everything. Everything is done to make things as safe as possible. But every year, there's one or two or three riders who were killed in the TT race. And I was talking to this journalist and I said, what is going to happen at the coroner's inquest is that the coroner is going to say to the families, rest assured that he died doing something that he enjoyed. And I said, what I want to say is that unfortunately my boys died doing something that they enjoyed. I don't want to say that. The coroner would never say that about somebody who died from taking drugs. But it's true. Whichever way I look at it, my boys sought out the drugs. They wanted to take drugs. I don't like that idea. I don't like it at all. Most of you won't like it either. But it is an absolute fact. And I know that the coroner will never ever say, my boys died of doing something that they enjoyed. So we need to think about what we're doing if we want to make things safe. Because we do it in everything. Why with drugs do we just come up with this just say no? Because it just doesn't work. It's a pointless argument. It hasn't worked since we've had prohibition. It's not going to work in the future. So we need another approach. And you may dislike it. You know, I don't know what to do. What I do know is what we are doing, what the government says we're doing, prohibition, everything, is making things worse. I have no doubt that had my boys known what they were taking that night, they wouldn't have taken the amount that they did. They wanted, they'd had a great day at the football, they had a few drinks together, just wanted to end it with a bit of fun, and they saw that by taking an ecstasy pill. And that killed them, and it shouldn't have done. Their deaths were preventable. Most of the deaths that we hear about, we're talking about 70 deaths a week. These are preventable deaths. And what is stopping them, why they're continuing, is because the government persists in the laws and the legislation that we have at the moment. And it's shameful. It really should not be happening. They should be looking at it. They really care about what is happening. They should be doing something about it. And we're trying to do something about it. I am not ashamed of my boys. There's a lot of stigma attached to people who die of drugs. I'm not ashamed of my boys. I have no reason to be ashamed of them. They were unfortunate. They were unlucky. They may have been naive, but they didn't deserve to die. And our government, if they changed their law, could have prevented that and the deaths of many, many others. And they're not in any hurry to do it. But 70 deaths a week, 5 years ago my boys died. That's a lot of people. We're talking about, what, 15,000 people have died of drugs since my boys died? And I think that is outrageous. And we really do need to do something to stop it. You know, you need to do something to stop it because you can. You can speak out about it. You know, you can just stand by us as you have been here tonight. The more that we get this message out, the more chance we've got of changing it. You know, my boys deserve something. All the other people who've died deserve something. They deserve a change in the law, and it must come about sooner or later. Thank you.